Hey guys, in this video I'm diagnosing my battery going dead when parked, so obviously some kind of a current leakage situation. Let me know if you guys have had similar issues with your 2022 Pioneer. Curious if this is going to end up being a common thing for the Pioneers. Mine started happening after I went in a lot of water, so maybe not, but it's definitely something related to my power steering system. This video is kind of long. I just kind of put the troubleshooting steps in here for educational purposes. Also, if you're having a similar issue, it might help you kind of get closer to root cause and figure out at least what subsystem or what fuse is being responsible for pulling your battery down.
Yesterday morning when it started up, it was stone dead. Hooked the jump box up to it. It fired up. Was able to put it on the trailer. Went to Holopaw. But the battery was so dead. I had no dash. Dash was stone dead. I had no power steering. Everything ran fine. It shifted fine. All the modes worked. I was able to drive around Holopaw. And every time I stopped, I had to jump it. So my first thought is, okay, either battery went bad or I had a parasitic draw. Came home and hooked up the charger on the battery overnight, and the battery came back to life. It's about 13 volts. It'll start it right now. It sat for about a week, and it was enough to totally kill the battery. This isn't a huge battery, but it should definitely be able to sit for a week. So the thing I want to check is, what's the draw? So I got this little shitty Harbor Freight amp meter here, and I disconnected the positive leg to the battery. And I'm going from the positive leg that feeds the power to the whole machine to the positive terminal on the battery. I'm getting a 0.12 current draw. So a little over 1/10 of an amp is being pulled from this thing with the key off, not doing anything. So that seems kind of high. So I want to see, where is that current going? So if we leave this hooked up, so 0.12, you can pull all the fuses in the fuse box, and that doesn't affect anything. It's not those guys, it's not this anything here. If you pull this 40 amp right here, which is the other leg, it goes to nothing. So whatever this 40 amp right here is feeding is causing a little over 1/10 of an amp current draw. But yeah, pretty interesting. I already disconnected my winch. It's nothing to do with my winch. So yeah, also a couple things to note. This lid, this fuse box is not waterproof at all, and it's getting pretty nasty already. This connector on the Harbor Freight or Walmart winch was already pretty corroded, and I've already got a little bit of water in my new LED headlight. You can see some moisture in there. That's kind of disappointing. So there's just some other observations unrelated to this current investigation. But the easy fix for this would be to just, what I did on my old Talon, put a marine disconnect switch right here, run one leg of the battery up to it. That way when your key's off, you disconnect it, your winch is off, and your winch can't go haywire in the middle of the night and burn itself up. So I could do that, and that would totally fix this issue, but I'd like to get to the bottom of it because we like to do the science here on Mud Puppy. And obviously, I'm no electrical engineer because I use a 99-cent Harbor Freight Centec digital multimeter. What we're gonna do is, we're gonna hook everything back up and pull that fuse and see what it does. So I'm pretty sure this 40 amp fuse here is the power steering fuse. That's the only thing it makes sense it would be. 40 amps split off right from the battery because your power steering system is a pretty high current system. So let's pull that fuse and start it up and see if we lose power steering. So we got no lights on, but we have no power steering. Okay, so power steering's disabled. That's working good. Let's go ahead and put that fuse back in. And now we've got power steering. Okay, so that's definitely the power steering fuse. That's good.
All right, so I often get asked, how do you troubleshoot stuff? And the answer is always use the manual. So you can get it by any service manual for 20 bucks, 30 bucks online. I use Service Manual Warehouse a lot. It's pretty good. There's the one I just downloaded because I didn't have one for 2022. 25 bucks, got the documentation. Before you start bugging people with questions, go buy the manual and look if it's in there first. Number one, you'll learn something. Number two, you won't have to bug me with questions. All right, anyway, so here's the manual. Went down to battery charging system. Start scrolling through here. Let's see what Honda says. We need a special tool, special charger, whatever. Main fuse box, yeah, here's the electrical system, yeah, we got all that, yeah, we know how that works, yeah. Battery inspection, so this is my battery, should be between 13 and 13.2 volts, fully charged. I'm really close to that. I think the battery's just fine. Battery testing here, battery charger. Let's see if it tells us something about current leakage. Oh, it sure does. Specified current leakage, 0.04 amps maximum. 0.04 milliamps maximum. So we were using an amp meter, so we got to move that decimal place a lot. So 0.04 milliamps, a milliamp is a 1,000th of an amp. So move the decimal place 3 places over here. That's 0.0004 amps. We were at 0.1 amps, roughly. So I definitely have higher than spec current leakage. If current leakage exceeds value, locate the short by disconnecting connections one by one and measuring the current. That's what we were trying to do. The manual has the common sense right there for you in case you're lacking that yourself. So my Pioneer 1000 does have a high parasitic draw or current leakage, and that's what's killing the battery. So let's try to figure out what it is. So I think if we go down to wiring diagram, we'll get this giant mess of a wiring diagram to look at. Let's get rid of this right here. All right, where's the wiring diagram? I think it's loading. These pages are usually landscape. All right, here we go. It loaded. So let's zoom in on this mess and see if we can figure out where that 40 amp fuse goes. So when I pull that 40 amp fuse, I lose the draw. So let's try to see. Aha, I need the second half of the wiring diagram, which is usually on the next page. Yep. All right, so if you look up here on the top right of this page, you can see this fuse little chart. It tells you the current values for each fuse. EPS is at 40 amp fuse. EPS is also shown there at 13 as a standalone box. So that does prove that this fuse I found only feeds the EPS system. Guess was correct. We went to the electric power steering option here in the menu, and you see where it says right here, EPS fuse 40 amp. That's the fuse we're pulling, and the current draw goes away. So something in my power steering system has a parasitic draw. That's pretty annoying. I could fix this by just pulling that fuse and disabling power steering, obviously. But that'd be a lot of work. I could add a switch where the fuse is, so I have a switch to turn that off when the vehicle's off. That's a good idea. But what I really want to do is just add a switch that kills all current draw from the battery, because that would make sure that my winch stuck on, it wouldn't burn itself up or anything like that. So that's probably what I'm going to do. But anyways, let's just try to understand the system a little more. So this is the EPS ECU. The four-wheel drive select switch feeds into here. It's a pretty complicated system. Motor position sensor. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on with the power steering. Main fuse, ignition 50 amp fuse. Where's this 40 amp fuse it's talking about? That might be a typo. That might be... Oh no, here it is. Yep, it splits off here. So this is that 40 amp fuse it's talking about. This is what has the draw. So this is the main power to the power steering system. Interesting. That goes out to the EPS motor. Interesting. So it almost looks like it's something in my EPS computer that's causing the draw, because this 40 amp fuse goes straight into the computer. All these other feed-ins are out of the fuse box.
I do have a pretty high current leakage, parasitic draw, whatever you want to call it, and it's related to the power steering system, and that's as far as I'm going to go at the diag now, because I have other stuff I need to work on. But a little disappointing, Honda. I know it's my fault for going in a ton of water, and I know this isn't an XMR, so I really can't complain about things not being waterproof, but it's pretty annoying. That's the first real problem this thing has had. But not to make excuses for Honda, it has been under a lot of water, and there is a good bit of corrosion in all the fuse boxes and everything like that. So kind of understandable. For now, because I don't want to kill the battery, I'm just going to pull this fuse out, and next time I go riding, when I want power steering, I'll have to just put it back in. Which is incredibly inconvenient, but whatever. Go ahead and drop this guy in here. So mystery's half solved. We just got to figure out what in the power steering system is causing the draw now.